Hey, it's KR of D&D Homebrew asking the question today of whether it's okay to goad the players into taking some action or going in some direction in your world. And what I mean by goading, as opposed to railroading, I guess I just start by defining railroading that typically it's where there's no other option but to go this way, do this action. You are just forcing them to must explore this dungeon or take on this monster or help these people or whatever. And every time they just decide to walk away, it's clear you, for whatever reason, are going to force them to do that. Goading is different. Goading is where you use what I would call emotional tactics to get the players to influence their behavior in ways that might not be in their best interest. The classic example that I've talked about on this channel before, so some of you may have heard this. I had this rest stop area the players were going through. They were on this mission. These bandits were hanging out there. And there was a little girl taking buckets of water to the people stopping at this rest stop. And I was kind of creating a Wild West, spaghetti Western with these bandits. And one of them tripped the little girl. She fell. And all the other bandits were, you got what's your problem, little girl? Well, the players attacked the bandits and killed all of them. I think one got away. They said, no way, you can't. And I realized, and I've talked about, I was doing it for flavor, but many people, the players, Dan Norton has talked about this. Oh no, KR, you were goading them. You were getting them to attack the bandits, who then, the clan group that was employing them were enemies now. They wanted to get at the players, and it caused the players some problems. Wasn't really in their best interest, but they could not stop themselves. So this is classic goading, where the unfairness, where your cruelty, right? A state where you see something happening and you're like, I'm not putting up with that. And I don't care about the consequences, because this is another thing. A railroad is just, you got to explore this dungeon. And when you go there, it's clear you can only go one way. Railroading, it's just, there's no other choice. Goading is, you make a decision and you don't care whether it's going to hurt you necessarily. If you make it so that the evil, super powerful vizier, who's this, 12th level wizard, is cruel, the players aren't necessarily just going to attack him because he can kill them, but they're going to say, we're going to get that guy. And they will. They'll go a whole campaign and they'll keep saying to themselves, we're going to get that guy, because they were goaded into it. Sometimes it can be if he does something to them, some humiliation or theft or something, but often it can be with goading, something they see that makes them go, we have to right that wrong. Because here's the thing, in a heroic fantasy world, you're a hero, and heroes right wrongs. Heroes are the ones that step up when everyone else just kind of turns away, or those guys are pretty tough. I'm not, I just sat in my chair at my booth and I just ate, and the hero gets up and says, what are you doing? You just hit that little girl? I'm not letting that happen. Boom, 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 right? Every movie, action movie and stuff is made up of people who sometimes they try not to get goaded, right? They know that, my fists are like weapons and I'm going to get in trouble, but they can be goaded if they do something like that. But the thing is, with a true goad, I think it can't be, as I've talked about this before, one of the players' mothers has been kidnapped and they're demanding that the players do something or else the mother dies. That's more of a railroad type situation. Or it's like so obvious. What are they? Is a player really going to go, nah, I'm going to let my mom die? It's just, if it's so close to the players, or they burn down, the players have created this tavern and they're making some money and they come back from an adventure and it's been burned to the ground with a note that says, hey, F you, was signed. Well, that's not goading. That's like, it's the most blatant form of goading. That, I think, it's, I guess, not real. I guess that's a super goad, but why are you doing that? The players would have had to do something, because goading is often, they see something unrelated to them, right? They see something that they can have a stake in it. So, for example, they have a mentor early on in the campaign that helps them, whether it's a wizard or some, higher level character or something, just whoever, or an NPC in town, and I was a commoner. And they hear about, you've decided that in the course of what's going on, this person has run into some trouble And the players hear about this. It has nothing to do with anything they're doing, that they've done, whatever. And you could say, well, why would you do that? Well, I'll sometimes just roll, like, has there been a random event, or is something going on, or I'll set this up in the advance that this person is exploring different, they're collecting information. And the players are among those that they have sent out to find stuff about some mystery that they're looking into. And they have other people that have done it as well. And somebody's ripped them off. And they say, man, I got robbed. And the players are going to investigate. They're going to be goaded into doing that. Even though this person doesn't ask them to do it, even though you're not forcing them to do it, but they have a connection with this mentor. Now, again, the other thing about this is there are groups that won't be goaded. They just go, well, whatever, he loses. I've seen it. Most of the time, though, because it's a little different than, a little girl getting, knocked over. So you'd be surprised how these bonds, it's the fictional paradox, right? The fictional paradox is, even though we can see Breaking Bad, we can see clips of the actors talking about their roles, we can see blooper reels or whatever. When we're watching Breaking Bad, we are nervous for what's going to happen to Walter White and Jesse Pinkman and whoever. We don't understand. I mean, they have all these theories of why this is the case, but it is the case. Well, same thing with characters and NPCs and sentient creatures or whatever in a RPG setting. You're going to care about what happens to them, and you are going to be goaded into doing things that, whatever this group was that ripped off their mentor, they might be powerful, but they're not going to care, right? Because they were goaded, because this guy was their friend. Now, you sometimes, like I had a recent situation in another game where I have this NPC and she runs this it's this Wild West town, totally, lawless, right? They just sort of police themselves, and they built this town purposely out of any jurisdiction of anyone. And she runs this sort of gambling hall, bordello type thing. And one of the player characters is a bard, and he sort of got involved with her. It's very PG, rated PG. I always do that. But he did. While her former paramour, this just a total jerk but powerful figure, found out about this. So I thought to myself, what would this, because he hates this group, they're their nemesis. What would he do when he finds out? Because she rejected him and went for this guy. So I was going to have her show up and just have a black eye, right? Again, I thought of this, and then I thought of two things. One, I don't want domestic violence in my world, right? It's bad enough it's in the real world. Now it's a fantasy world. I was trying to be realistic about what this person would do. He's a coward. He's a jerk. Of course he would beat women, but I didn't want to do that. I already learned my lesson with the kid. So what I thought was, well, she'll just be fearful, and she'll try to reject him, and then she'll say he threatened her. He threatened her with harm if she continues to associate with him in any way, or just, intimately, as we say. What would that do? Would that goad him into doing something? And the goading is, I'm just thinking about, as things go down in my world, what would be a realistic development when this jerk finds out not only has she rejected him, but for one of his nemesis, this group, one of its party members. The party member, the bard, the singer guy, the guy that gets all the girls, right? Oh, that would bug him. And he would threaten her. And he would say, stay away or else, right? So, and again, he might just go, well, that's the way it goes, because I don't want to take on this guy because he's this powerful family and I could be in trouble. You never know. Because if they resist a goad like that, you just go, okay, you're just setting up emotional stakes. You're just trying to have stuff that's happening in your world mean something to the players. And that's why they get goaded into doing things. There's another adventure goad, which is if someone mysteriously disappears, let's say. You just say, the word on the street is very strange because I had this, another actual thing. There was this guy that the players had dealt with. It was a halfling. He dealt in all these curios, and he would take in stuff that they had harvested from monsters. And word was he had disappeared. And they went to his shop, and it was, bolted shut, all sealed up, and he wasn't inside. And they have things to do. They, they were on all the various missions and, ideas they have to do stuff. But they were just like, what happened to this guy? And they had to figure it out. It was just gnawing at them. So they literally delayed what they were doing to investigate this. And that's a goad. That's a pure goad. Now, it made sense in terms of my timeline about what this guy was doing and what he found and how it affected him. And I'd already said in advance when I'm setting up this world, this is going to happen at a certain point. And some of it was based on what the players did. But it was a pure goad, right? This guy disappeared. And that's an unusual event like that. Somebody disappearing. Crops are suddenly dying. You know, the literal goad is something streaks across the sky, and in the distance there's a flashing of lights far off. The players see this. That's a goad, because you don't have to do it. You know, and there's other people just say, well, that's just giving them some options, and and there's people that don't like that because it's so obvious or whatever, but they don't have to do that. And I've had players file things away. Right? Because if you make it their personal friend, like this guy, the curio shop guy, wasn't really, they dealt with him a few times, but they knew him and they knew what he was like. And he was very fair and, personable. He's a halfling. So it is someone that they're like, oh, what happened to that guy? But it's not personal, like at the level of your mother, father, or sibling, or whoever is being held captive. What are you going to do? Or they've disappeared. Someone's person, they're going to go, well, we're going to stop everything until we figure out what's going on. They've disappeared. What do you mean? That's kind of railroading, right? But the goading is something where you're just saying, what do you think? Are you going to do this? And especially where it's a goad where if you do act on this, for instance, you've got this timeline. If you have a super deadly timeline, the whole world's going to be destroyed. They're going to just, well, whatever, halfling, you lose, right? So I don't like to do those kind of things anyway. Those kind of timelines are a little... That's railroading, right? But if it's just they've got different things going on, they've got to make decisions, and then this comes up, you're kind of going, hey, look at that, your little goad there, right? You going to do anything about it? Right? Just like when I have the guy threatening or, making this guy's girlfriend or whatever, afraid. We going to do something about it? And of course, he might. So remember, if you're going to goad your players, they don't have to do it. Don't make it too close to them. Make it on their sense of fairness, their sense of dislike of anything cruel. And the final thing, which is the best, is frame it in a way like a hero in an action movie would do. Because when we see the bully pushing someone around, and in a movie, the hero steps up and says, hey, I don't like that. And the guy's like, what? And his 5 associates go, seriously? And he's been goaded into doing something, and he is going to do it. Because the thing is, that's why we play the game. In many ways, we play a game in order to go out through the world, and if we see an injustice, we want to right it. And how does that happen? We are goaded into it by seeing that injustice. And a shout out to my Patreon supporters. Love you guys. Love creating material and talking about D&D. And if you like what you've seen, please subscribe. Like the video. Tell me some comments about ways you've goaded your players. And most importantly, keep playing an RPG game, whichever one you choose, and tell somebody else about it.